Hello everyone. Bleav in Bama back. We took a little hiatus last week. I had strep throat. DJ's got a lot going on scheduling wise. We're some busy people, and I was not feeling my best following the Iron Bowl. So we are back, and we can talk about the Iron Bowl. The state of Alabama bleeds crimson once again. Alabama getting another Iron Bowl win. DJ, I was at the game, so I got to see obviously a lot of it from the sidelines and everything like that. But from someone watching at home, what were you feeling watching the Iron Bowl this year?
I think it was a tight game. I think it was an electrifying game. I watched those guys, watched those offenses go back and forth the whole time. You know, the Auburn played a great solid offense. I think they had a great offensive game plan, and they did a lot of RPOs that scored. You know, the defense did a good job too. But I mean, when you play against the Crimson Tide, you gotta expect we're gonna bring our best all the time. And Alabama did
Always.
that. They had passing touchdown. Bryce Young had a couple little passing TDs. We had a good little solid rushing attack, and that's kind of set the tone for the game. I was very pleased about the performance that they put on.
I was too, and I think the final score of the game might not have reflected how close it could have been at some points in the game, but I was very impressed with, we've said it a lot specifically about the defense needing to get stops to have that, momentum shift in games where it matters. But with this game specifically, there were several, key moments where that momentum just completely shifted to Alabama. Auburn fumbling and Alabama recovering and getting Alabama's offense right back out on the field after scoring a touchdown. That's a huge momentum shift. And then I gotta shout out my guy Neeland Hibbett on the special teams unit, getting the messed up punt return by Auburn. He's from North Alabama. He's from one of the high schools around here that I get to cover.
Okay.
So, watching him make a big, because, he's the long snapper. He doesn't, we don't really see him make a whole lot of game changing plays and everything. So getting to see Neeland, my guy, I was like a proud mom. I was filming it. So I had my camera, so I couldn't really freak out or whatever. I was like, oh, go Neeland. I was like, that's so exciting. But it's just like something like that, another huge momentum shift. And what did Alabama do once again? Following that momentum shift, they scored a touchdown. So
Yep.
I think a lot of it was just, being in Bryant-Denny Stadium and having the home field advantage, but just having those momentum shifts and those momentum swings to really get the game, back on track for Alabama. Not back on track because it was never necessarily off the rails, but
Right.
Auburn scores first in that game. And
They do.
when you don't see Alabama score first, you see Auburn score first and go up 7-0. Obviously, the final score does not indicate that ended up being a problem, but
Right.
when you first see that, you're like, oh, okay, like Robbie Ashford and Cadillac Williams came to play today. Like they can obviously, and we knew they were going to, we've said this time and time again, Auburn, not only a good program, but when you're playing Alabama, no matter who you are, but especially when it's your biggest rivalry, we're going to get their best game plan. We're going to get the best that Auburn has to offer. And I think you're definitely correct. I think Auburn did have a great offensive game plan for the game. And I think they played a good game, a hard fought game, especially, given the circumstances that they had going on down in their program and everything. This just being one of Cadillac Williams' performances as interim head coach. But I think that Auburn played well, but Alabama obviously played a little better, had some momentum swings go their way and everything, which obviously I was happy to see. And definitely a fun game. It ended up raining on us near the end of it, but you know what? We'll
Yeah.
survive. And the end of that game, this was my first Iron Bowl that I got to cover in Bryant-Denny for work. I've been to the Iron Bowls in Bryant-Denny, but all the ones that I've covered so far, 2019 was in Auburn. We didn't go to 2020 because of COVID, and then 2021 was obviously in Auburn. So this was my first time being back in Tuscaloosa, and the end of that game, it was really kind of a surreal feeling to look around, and it's raining and Alabama's up big, but the student section was still full. Everyone was still rowdy, and
Oh yeah, they rock it.
it was refreshing to see, because we've heard Saban complain so many times, and I don't blame him, about, students leaving when we're up big. It's 49-0 at halftime and the students are leaving and we don't have that support. But you can best bet, when Auburn's coming to town, it doesn't matter how much you're up by, because everyone wants to see that in-state rivalry showdown and that beatdown and that kind of stuff. So it was really great to kind of see the atmosphere in Bryant-Denny stay for the whole 4 quarters, like, the players and the coaching staff actually have to do every time.
Right. I mean, yeah, it was a great game. I mean, I wish I was there, guys. It sounds like you had a good time during that game.
It was a good time.
Shoot. But I mean, after watching those guys, I mean, I think it's pretty cool that see a former player to go be a head coach at the last minute. I think that says a lot about Cadillac Williams. I mean, he was great back in the day. Him and Ronnie Brown, actually. It's crazy because Ronnie Brown was my teammate back in the Chargers back in the day. Because they called them the little tandem. Cadillac Williams and Ronnie Brown. You got power, you got finesse. But I think it was great to see him coach, to see what he taught the players. I seen the way that running game was for Auburn. It was darn near almost unstoppable. They had a great game plan for running the ball. Now they did have a few takeaways with that, a fumble. During that time, but I mean they could have controlled that whole game. I have to give it to him for him coaching them the way he did. He had a solid run game. Now, if I ever want a run game coordinator, I definitely will actually want him now.
Yes.
He did really good. They ran the ball very effectively. The QB, they had a lot of QB runs. I mean, that first TD was a QB run. I always say that, Alabama, we always had trouble with scrambling quarterbacks. I don't know what it is. It to this day, it's always have been like that. But I will say, eventually they contained them. The defense stepped up, contained them. They had a few little plays here and there, but I mean, eventually the tone started to get set midway through the second half, and they just got better and better. And I would say Alabama, they showed what they can do. I mean, I was really hopeful for them to get in the playoffs through a side note, because I mean, a lot of things started to go their way.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
I was looking forward to it. I said this team right here is a lot different. But I think it was just for those guys, like I was saying, they were playing for something. Like we were talking about last week, the week before, when they played the P team, they were playing for something. And they made their mark right the other week playing the Auburn game. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
I get all a little bit passionate about what I'm talking about, But I think those guys they've done a great job. I mean, basically watching the game.
I think you're totally right about Cadillac Williams. And, again, if I need a run game coordinator, I'm calling him, especially if you've got a quarterback like Robbie Ashford that is able to run like that. And that's, Robbie, an incredible quarterback in general, but just the end of that game, again, I'm kind of taking it all in and everything. Alabama gets their 3rd straight Iron Bowl win. The fans are still there and everything. And a moment that I was just very impressed with Robbie, probably the moment I was most impressed with him the whole day, that was after the game ended. He stayed out on the field, and while Saban and Bryce were doing their CBS interviews, he hung back because he wanted to make sure that he had a conversation with Coach Saban, congratulating him on the win and saying, good job, good luck the rest of the season. And then did the same with Bryce. He just stood there, just hanging out, hugging guys and dapping up guys guys as they walked by and everything, but just waiting because he wanted the chance to have a conversation with Bryce, you know, and as the quarterback that you wish you were doing that post-game interview, you wish you were on the other side of that, to wait and to probably talk with Bryce for the last time for Robbie in an Alabama uniform, you know, to have that opportunity, to watch him just kind of wait to have that conversation and just kind of see the two of them come together and be like, hey, great game, man, you know, and all of that, which we see with all the players. I was very impressed with, you know, Robbie's just performance after the game was even over, because just to see the respect that the two of them, Robbie and Bryce, and then the respect that Robbie and Saban have for each other, to see that unfold was really great and really special. So a huge props to Auburn's quarterback. And then as soon as Bryce left that exchange, he was going to leave the field, and that's when, you know, he gets a standing ovation from the student section and all the fans still in the stadium, because he's more than likely leaving the field in Bryant-Denny for the last time as an Alabama player. And you could see him, one of my friends who's one of the photographers at one of the stations down in Birmingham, he just got this incredible video of Bryce, you know, running off and everything, and you can just see him. I think, like, and I didn't see Will when he was leaving, but I feel like it was probably similar. You see Bryce kind of, I think it clicks in his head that this, you know, this could be it. This could be his last home game in Bryant-Denny, and you see him like trying to hold back the tears, like getting emotional. And I was like, no, it's like, I can't do that today. And I'm like, oh, why are they cheering? And then you see that they're showing Bryce up on the big screen, like running off the field. And I was like, oh no, I was like, my heart can't handle that today. Like, I was like, I am happy about the win. I cannot do that today. But you know, to go out with your last game, your last home game in Bryant-Denny Stadium, more than likely for Bryce Young and Will Anderson, 100% you're correct in saying, you know, they were all playing for something else, but you know, those guys, they've given so much to the program, and they wanted to, you know, Will said afterwards in his press conference, he's like, well, I've gone 3-0 against Auburn. Like, and that's that. And we've talked about it before, and people talk about it every year. Like, that's important, you know, playing at Alabama, you want to win SEC and national championships, but beating Auburn, a big deal. So for those guys to be able to go 3-0 against their biggest rivals, that's obviously something huge that they were playing for. And it was just such a great special moment to kind of see them realize that, like, oh wow, we did it. Like, and this could be it. But unfortunately, more than likely our last home game that we're going to see with Bryce Young and Will Anderson, assuming the two of them go off to the NFL, which everyone is obviously expecting them to do. I think everyone would be very surprised if they didn't.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bryce is definitely going. I mean, he's already projected on the high boards right now as the first round. First round could be number one overall pick, probably. Knowing him, I think that's why I said these games are very important for each of those players. I mean, and you're right. Those Iron Bowl games are very very important. Because I mean, for the state, you get to brag. You get to brag for the whole state for 365 days to that game day hit you, coming game. So I mean, those backgrounds are very important. I know when a while ago when I was there, Coach Cochran, I don't know, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Coach
Of
Cochran.
course.
We played. We played a time when they had Auburn had Cam Newton, and we remember. Right now, I'm 3-1. 3-1 against Auburn because of Cam Newton when he came in. We had a score. I think it was 20, 24, 27, something like that. And it made us remember how hard we worked to get to where we are right now. And after that, we started winning back to back. I think it's very important for that. Especially when it's your last game to play, Brian Denny.
Oh,
you do tear up now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you do what you got to do. And I think I remember, you know, coming out there, I can't remember how much time was left into the game, but it was sometime in the fourth quarter, and Alabama significantly ahead. And I'm kind of like, you heard someone in the stands be like, why are Bryce and Will still in the game? Like, why is Bryce still in the game? Why is he still playing? And I'm like, because he wants to, like those could be it for him. So to get that win and to have that moment for them, of course, very special. Playing for a win in the Iron Bowl, very important for bragging rights. But Alabama, of course, also playing for a win in the hopes of boosting that college football playoff resume. And as we know now, Alabama coming in 5th in the nation, getting a spot in the Sugar Bowl, just
Mm-hmm.
barely missing out on the college football playoff.
Right.
I know that when you were playing at Alabama, it was a different format. We didn't have the college football playoff, and that's
Right.
not how this worked. But I would just love to hear your thoughts, because there's obviously, and I've had to talk about it for, the past week and a half or so. There's obviously a lot of people that say Alabama should have been in, and a lot of people that say, why the heck would we put Alabama in? Why in the world do they deserve to be in the playoff? And I would just love to hear your thoughts on the top 4, and if going into those playoff rankings, did you think did you think they were gonna sneak in?
I think we had a chance for that. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a lot of circumstances had a lot of teams had to lose. I mean, at first I think we had 2 losses for certain teams, and Bama had a 25% chance after that. But I think Georgia played Tennessee
Mm-hmm.
for the SEC championship. Am I mistaken?
So
Well,
Georgia beat Tennessee for
right,
SEC West to get to the
right,
SEC championship, right?
right,
Yeah.
right,
So
right.
Tennessee lost to Georgia. Um,
So
and then
so it was like if they got in, it would be a miracle if they got in. Now, do they deserve to play? I mean, any team deserves to play with 2 losses. I mean, they're playing against we're in a harder conference. I still Bleav that. Now, now for them to go into the playoffs and these other teams are undefeated and they don't have one loss team, so I think I'm like, I would love Alabama to be in their lineup, but those teams also deserve to be there as well. They work
mhm.
just as hard to get there. Now, I'm always a Alabama fan, but I look at the stats. I look at the score and the scoring points. I look at the performance, and sometimes it's based on points to get in.
Mhm.
So I mean, could have got it? Should have got in? I think they should have maybe beat out one team to get in there. Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
But I mean, that's a hard thing to do. I mean, especially nowadays with the playoffs.
Yeah, and just I mean, I don't want to be on the playoff committee. I don't want to have that job. Because obviously it's a very difficult one. I said, I thought that if TCU had gone into that Big 12 championship and they had lost by like 20, I think the end result for this would have been a lot different. But as soon as TCU took it to overtime, I was like,
Hmm.
there it is. I was just like, yeah, as soon as they take, whether they win or lose, as soon as it's, a hard fought game, they take it to overtime. Because of course
Right,
they're not playing a nobody. They're playing who's now the number 9 team in the nation, who we're going to go up against, Kansas State. So it's not like they're, losing in the championship to someone who's not even ranked or something like that. So as
right,
soon as they took it to overtime, I was like, this is how this is going to go, because it's tough with you think about all the different things that goes through the committee's mind. So with TCU's schedule and their record, even after the loss, they're not undefeated, but neither
right.
is Ohio State going into this one and everything. You got to know, okay, they're not undefeated. So there's that one loss compared to Alabama's 2, but then you look at strength of schedule for TCU.
Hmm.
And everyone's like, oh, okay, Alabama has 2 losses. And it's like, okay, well, it was a 4-point total margin on the final plays in 2 of the top ranked teams in the top 25 on the road. And then you've got
Hmm.
Ohio State, who gets blown out at home by Michigan, which, to be fair, it's Michigan. So, and they are the number 2 team in the nation. They are a great team, but it's like, okay, so we go to Tennessee and we lose by 3 on a game-winning field goal. That's what it takes to beat Alabama with a beat up Bryce Young. That's what it takes to beat
Yeah.
Alabama on the road. And then Ohio State is at home against Michigan and they get blown out. Like, I'm not saying Ohio State's a bad team. I don't think that they're a bad team by any means. But I think if you're gonna make the whole oh, well, the 2-loss argument, and I'm like, okay, against 2 top 25 opponents, and you can go all day, you can run in circles about this. I think I was surprised that, and again, I don't know how the committee works, but I was surprised that the committee did not want the Michigan Ohio State rematch in the semis. I'm surprised that they did not jump Ohio State over TCU, because in my opinion, I think Michigan or Georgia is going to beat TCU. So I'm kind of surprised that they didn't just do Georgia TCU and then Michigan Ohio State. But I think, again, the arguments have been made so many times, and all over Twitter. I've had to been talking about it, and there's a couple that like stick out to me. It's like, okay, if I ask most people on Twitter or sports fans or whatever, if you ask them, hey, who do you think Alabama would beat in the top 4? Pretty much everyone that I have talked to or I've seen online and everything, everyone thinks that Alabama could beat 3 of the 4 teams in the top 4. The only one that people are wavering against is Georgia. And so I'm like, okay, so if you think that they could beat 3 of the 4 top teams, why are they not one of the top 4 teams? Like, if you think they could beat TCU, despite the fact that they have 2 losses and TCU only has 1, why, like, if you think they could beat them, why would you not put them above them? And that's when like the fairness of the playoff really comes into play. It's like, oh, well, TCU played for a conference championship and they only have 1 loss, and it's like, okay, in a less competitive conference.
Okay. Fair enough.
And it just, I don't know. And then everyone's arguing, because it doesn't really matter in the end of the day, because now it's just a bowl game versus a bowl game. But everyone's arguing, oh, well, why isn't Tennessee ranked above Alabama? Like, the head-to-head matchup, why isn't Tennessee ranked above Alabama? And I'm like, okay, I see the argument if Hendon Hooker is healthy. But at this point, Alabama and Tennessee have the same record. And yes, Tennessee did beat Alabama again at home with Hendon Hooker, who I Bleav should be one of the Heisman finalists, despite missing the end of the season due to a torn ACL that he suffered. You at home with Hendon Hooker, and it took a last second field goal to do it. And I think this Tennessee football team is a good football team. So I'm not meaning, disrespect in the, it took a last second field goal to do it. And it took Will Reichard missing a field goal to do it and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm like, okay, so you want to argue the head to head that Tennessee beat Alabama? Well, the head to head right now does not have, they're the same record and does not have Hendon Hooker. I don't think Alabama loses to Tennessee without Hendon Hooker, because if Hendon didn't go off and if Jalen Hyatt didn't have the performance that he had against Alabama, I don't know what that game looks like. So if you're talking head to head and who are the top teams right now, I think if you got the same record and you don't have Hendon Hooker, then that Alabama is the better team. Like, but again, Tennessee fans and people who hate Alabama, they'll make the argument that, but Tennessee beat Alabama, and it's like, okay, different circumstances. Like, okay, fine. If the playoff rankings came out the week after Tennessee beat Alabama, then that's a completely different conversation. But this is, weeks later and everything like that. But you could spin yourself silly going around in circles talking about the playoff predictions. You really could.
Oh yeah, you definitely could. I mean, I don't know. I think Alabama still should have maybe have got in, but I mean, it did. I think it's tough. When Alabama wins so many games, wins so many national championships, a lot of people in the playoff committee, I would just be frank, a lot of them don't want to see Bama in. And I mean, it's a winning program. Let's be honest about it. You got Alabama, you're going to win the championship, you're going to get drafted probably first round, second round, third round. I mean, a lot of kids go there just for that reason. And well, some kids go just for that reason. Some will go for education and both. I think that Alabama's a threat. It's always been a threat since Coach Saban got there in 2005. And they say, well, eventually when he catches fire on, when Coach Saban get that program running where it should be, a lot of people are going to want to be against Coach Saban and the whole University of Alabama. They're probably one of the most winning prestigious colleges at this moment right now. So, I mean, when it comes down to a lot of people don't want to see Alabama because usually they just vote against it. So I'm not really too surprised about it.
Right.
But I mean, it's kind of like I don't want to be like biased on this, so I just
Well, this is
mean,
Bleav in Bama. That's our job. I have to be unbiased for my actual job, but on this, I think Alabama should have been in or not.
They should have. I mean, I love. I mean, that's my school. I'm always gonna rip the school, man. I think they should have had at least a shot. Mm-hmm. I think, especially over TCU. That's for sure.
Well, because that's my thing is, and I could be proven very wrong in this, but I am just intrigued to see. And, I was impressed with what I saw when I was watching the Big 12 championship on Saturday. I was impressed with TCU, what I saw. Their quarterback has a dog in him. I don't know. In the end of that game, I don't know. He was on life support. That poor man was running for his life trying to win that ball game. But I just think that it's the whole, again, the fairness of the College Football Playoff Committee and the records and the competing for championships and that kind of stuff. I fear that TCU is going to be the Cincinnati of last year. And, they put Cincinnati in because it was fair with the records and everything. And they had some good wins and they looked like an impressive team because of the competition they're going up against. And then Cincinnati gets into the playoff and, to no one's surprise, gets demolished by Alabama. And I don't think anyone from Cincinnati, regrets that opportunity to play for it. And I don't think anyone at TCU will regret the opportunity to play in the college football playoff. But I wonder if it's just going to be the same scenario. And then, maybe next year before we get to the 12-team playoff, which is a whole sidebar, but that's when you question letting in that 2-loss team, because that's part of it. They've never let a 2-loss team in. And someone that I know said that he believes that Alabama should have gotten in, and he's not an Alabama fan. He doesn't even pay that much attention to college football, but he was like, I think they should, blah, blah, blah. And I think that there's no better team to do it than to fall on that sword and put a 2-loss team in. I don't think there's a better team to do that than Alabama, because they will more than likely prove themselves and more than likely impress. And again, just I always, a lot of the times I always just circle back and I go back to ratings because I'm in television and I pay attention to that kind of stuff sometimes. And I am just shocked that, I think the ratings for Michigan, Ohio State obviously would have been wild. But then the rating, if you've got Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State in the top 4 in the playoffs, I mean, no one's leaving their couch all day. Everyone is watching those games all day versus, I don't think the viewership for that Michigan TCU game is necessarily going to be as much as one of the others. But it's difficult, and it's hard. And I don't wish to be on that playoff committee because I don't want that job.
I mean, not at all. I mean, they lost to Kansas State in overtime. It's like I say this: when Alabama beat Kansas State, now when I watch those guys, I mean, you can run Alabama offense is going to be a powerhouse against that defense. Now they may got a solid pass rusher. I'll give them that, but when you put against that offense versus that Kansas State defense, they can run through them like toilet paper. Now I'm gonna be honest with you. That I love sports. I love watching players play and the way they play the game and how physical they are. I can tell by a guy if he's good or not just by the way he plays, and their ball instincts. Now watching that, I'm watching that TCU versus Kansas State. I was like, they're kind of soft. They're kind of soft. I mean, TCU a little bit soft there. You know what I mean? And no offense to them, I mean, they still play a solid ball game, I think. But like they they shouldn't be there. I still think they shouldn't be there because if Alabama beat Kansas State, that says a lot about TCU.
Well, and that's everyone's argument with the head-to-head matchup with Tennessee. It's like, okay, well, Tennessee beat Alabama, so they should be above them. It's like, okay, well, if Alabama beats Kansas State, who beat TCU, do you think that Alabama should have been ranked ahead of TCU?
I mean, is there any other undefeated team besides? Well, is there any other like undefeated team besides TCU? Or even though they lost one game before that, I mean, they should be if they're undefeated. Another team should be in beside them. Then everyone in the conference playoffs is undefeated. So
Yeah.
so why not make it fair? If you got a loss, so well, then put the guys that's undefeated in. But I mean, it's not like I said, like you said earlier. It's about the viewers. At the end of the day, it's all about money. At the end of the day, that's all it is. I say it like it is. They can't cancel me now.
Nope, can't do it. But it's all a balancing act with the committee. You know, it's enough. It's partially, you know, the matchups and the top 4 teams and all of that, and then it's the fairness, and then it's the viewers, and then it's the ratings and that kind of stuff. And so I'm definitely I think if TCU had been blown out by Kansas State, I think that Ohio State would have jumped to 3 and Alabama would have jumped up to 4. But I think with that Big 12 championship being the close matchup that it was, despite TCU falling in it, I think that's when they decided that they were still going to stick in the top 4. And I think I always wonder with the committee if part of it is like, what I guess maybe kind of you already said this in a sense, like because people hate Alabama, so they don't want to see Alabama in it, but like almost like who like America wants, because like everyone that was paying attention to that Big 12 championship is like talking about Max, the TCU quarterback, and they're like, I love this guy. I would run through a brick wall for him. He is laying it all out on the line for his team. And he's, you know, he's getting emotional in his post-game press conference, just because he's, of course, obviously upset about the fact that they couldn't get the win and that kind of stuff. So it's almost like you had America like cheering for TCU mainly because of their quarterback, Max Duggar. And I'm just kind of like, and I mean, I like him too. I was just like, I was seeing the kid ball out. He was giving it his heart and soul. I was like, give the man some oxygen, like help him. But I wonder, you know, it's like TCU had everyone kind of cheering for them, almost like, you know, Cincinnati did last year. But then to your point, so many people cheer against Alabama. So it's like the committee knew whether TCU got blown out or not and they squeezed Alabama in. The committee knows that if they put Alabama in that playoff, people are going to be pissed off about it.
Oh, they were going to get backlash from that, of course. Backlash all day. I mean, I agree with you. They were going to get backlash for putting Alabama in there, even though they should have. But you know, they're going to hear it for the rest of the year.
They are, but I guess they don't have to worry about that anymore because Alabama is playing in the Sugar Bowl. Still a great accomplishment. I know not what this team was hoping for, but you know, my news director at my station, he's not the biggest sports fan. So when the rankings come out the other day, he emails me and he's like, hey, you know, Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, is this a big deal for Alabama? Like, does this warrant like we have like sponsored special coverage and that kind of stuff? Does this warrant special coverage? And I go, well, like big deal is relative to who you ask, because Alabama and Alabama fans are used to competing for and playing for national championships, and they don't have that opportunity this year. But I said to him, I was like, but it's a New Year's Six bowl game. Like, they come in as the number 5 team in the nation. And I know that falls short of the Alabama expectation, but I don't think that's something, you know, those are now the cards you've been dealt with. And I don't think that's something to hang your head about, being ranked the number 5 team in the nation and getting to play in a New Year's Six. You know, I've seen a lot of Alabama fans that have annoyed me this season, saying that this is a bad team and that, you know, they don't deserve to play in the playoff or whatever. And that they're not good. And I'm like, they're the number 5 team in the nation. Like,
You know, it's just them Bama haters, man. You know, their job is to hate. They pay them to hate. That's their job.
I'm telling you, I know Bama fans that are saying this though. They're saying
Oh
we're a
man.
bad team. I go, you have Bryce Young and Will Anderson Jr. on your team, and you're saying they are bad. That is a bad take, and you know it.
Oh yeah, they're them the same ones that sit on their couch and they're basically tweeting about players all day, talking about how bad they
Yes.
are. And I mean the same one when these guys go out here and win and play on Sunday. I mean play on Saturday. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
on Saturday, and they be cheering for them. So I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get fans. That's why they call fanatics. Yeah,
Right.
fanatics for a reason because they don't understand
Exactly.
what it takes to play at that level. Because a lot of them
Oh yeah.
have never even played a sport. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and that's sometimes I think that kind of pisses me off when I hear fans talk trash about players. Because let me tell you, if that was their kid and their kid was
Oh yeah.
playing, some parent heard you saying about their kid, they'd be in a fight. You know,
Uh-huh.
but they don't understand like how much of a grind it is to even play football. How hard it is. You have to get up at 6:30 in the morning to go get treatment in the morning time to go to class and be a student and actually play
Mm-hmm.
football and maintain a whole balance life. So a lot of people fans say all that like, dude, you don't know what it takes to be a Alabama football player, to be
Mm-hmm.
a student athlete. They don't understand it. It's like they don't understand like grasp the concept of being an athlete. It's
Probably they
hard.
don't. I want to say maybe some of them do. Maybe some of them do. But I'm right there with you. I know we've talked about this on more than one occasion, just this season, because
Mm-hmm.
it happens all season long. They're making some mistakes that maybe they don't normally make. And on defense, let's give an example. And all of a sudden, the Bama dynasty is over and we're terrible. And I'm like, y'all need to relax. Like, it's like y'all need to
Mm-hmm.
go because again, and I pride myself in not being one of these people, but especially I know not all of it is young people. I know some of it is some of the older fans as well, but I'm like the kids who are either in college right now or who were in college when I was there. Y'all are spoiled. Like y'all are
Exactly.
spoiled and y'all are used to because of the incredible talent on our football team. Y'all are used to us winning national championships, SEC championships, undefeated seasons. Y'all are used to that every year. So one season, we finish as the number 5 team in the nation in the college football playoff rankings, playing in a New Year's Six bowl game, and y'all are pissed off about it. Like, I need y'all
Right.
to go talk. Like, I have good friends who are Syracuse football fans. Y'all got to go talk to them. Like,
Oh
y'all got
Lord.
to go talk to the people who, their teams aren't bowl eligible. Y'all got to go talk to the Mizzou fans. Okay. Like,
Okay.
it's like, I promise you, you will be okay. Like, because,
Right.
and we say it time and time again, these guys, they put in so much effort and so much work. Do you think that Bryce Young doesn't want to play for a national championship this year? Like, do you think that anyone on that team is happy about the fact that they fell short of their expectations to play for a national championship? No. Like, if
No.
anyone is the most pissed off about it, it is Nicholas Lou Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Like, those are the people that are the most pissed off about it. So it's like, for y'all to be like, oh, we're a bad team, like whatever. And I'm like, oh my God.
It doesn't make sense, do it?
I could go, the math ain't mathin'. I could go blue in the face talking about it. I'm just like, that is a terrible, terrible take. I'm like to say that this is a bad team. Like, oh my God.
It's crazy, man. I mean, if you look at the difference, all difference between the scores and what Alabama had lost was only like a point or 3 points. That was really it. They didn't get blown. They
Yeah.
ain't ever got blown out.
Yeah. 4 points difference between 9-2 and an undefeated season
Yeah,
or
I mean
regular season, excuse me.
that's a great season. I mean, they get to go play in the bowl game and
Mm-hmm.
still playing in a high level game right now. Because
Mm-hmm.
this team they're going to play eventually. Future reference. They're good. They're a good solid ball club. I'll give them that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's like I don't know. I just don't understand how people don't understand how hard it is for these guys to go out here and perform at a high level, knowing they have the pressure on them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I have to say about that. But
I'm with you. We've talked about it before. You've got, I don't know his birthday. Can Bryce Young legally drink? I don't think so.
I don't know. I hope not.
I feel like he's 20. I'm checking. I feel like
Is he
he's 20.
21?
I don't think so. I
20?
feel like he's not.
Maybe a little older.
Oh,
Who knows?
21 years old and 6
Oh
foot,
yeah,
according to
all right.
Wikipedia.
Well, he may drink, so he
Okay,
may not
fine.
drink. I don't
So,
know.
okay, this is a man, this was a boy that was born in 2001.
Good Lord, I feel
You have
old.
a boy,
Stop.
you have a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback born in 2001, and y'all want to rag on his team. We do not deal with that. But we say all the time, again, not only do they put in so much effort and so much hard work that most of us cannot even fathom, but you've got a bunch of kids out on the field. You've got a bunch of young men that are fresh out of high school, or they've been playing college ball for a couple years, and people want to, act like they are all high and mighty. But
yeah,
that's okay. We are not those people, and that's what matters.
right.
That is what matters.
We just care about the players. It's all that matters. It's all about the players at the end of the day. We support them.
So.
The win, lose, draw. It's all about being a team player, and that's what it comes down to. And that's called being a fan of the team. So we support that good habits when they do good. So when they do bad, and that's called being a fan. You got to support it through the hard times too. When the good times come, you're gonna be 10 times happier.
You're talking to an Atlanta sports fan, so trust when I say I understand that. Trust. Like, you got to stick with your team. You got to stay a fan. And I said to some of my friends who were talking about it, I go, and this is me looking at it like selfishly. I say to them, I go, y'all realize that my job is impacted by the performance of Alabama football, correct? Like, the success of Alabama or Auburn football determines what I get to do for my job. So I'm pretty sure if I'm going to be okay, y'all are going to be okay too. I'm pretty sure, because I want to cover the national championship, of course, but you know what? That's okay, because I've done that, and I'm sure I'll get to do it again. And I get to cover the Sugar Bowl this year, which I'm very excited about.
Okay,
I have never covered the Sugar Bowl. I've been to New Orleans for my senior year. Our semifinal game was the game in New Orleans against Clemson, and I've been to New Orleans before. But you know what? I am going to get to spend New Year's Eve covering Alabama football, something that is a dream of mine, and covering them in the Sugar Bowl. So I'm excited about it. And I get to be in New Orleans for New Year's Eve. So that in itself is reason to celebrate. So I was like, y'all are going to be fine. I promise you. Like, looking at it from the person who literally works alongside Alabama football for her job, we're all going to be fine. Okay. We're all going to be okay.
Yeah, that's a real hard honor to do that. And that's an opportunity. A lot of people don't get that opportunity to do what you do. So I mean, you have a lot of people looking up to you right now. So
I'm excited. I'm excited to get to cover the Sugar Bowl, to get to experience that against a Kansas State team who won a Big 12 championship. Should be fun. Should be a good time on New Year's Eve, of course. A New Year's Six bowl game, as we know. DJ and I we're gonna get into Kansas State and all that a little bit later, because we don't want to cram all this into one. But we are, of course, going to talk about the Kansas State matchup ahead of the Sugar Bowl. But that is New Year's Eve in New Orleans, an 11 a.m. kick, which all of the people I know very excited about, because we'll get our work done for the day and actually be able to celebrate New Year's Eve. We'll get our work done early. Very excited about it. So we are going to call it a wrap, I think, for this Bleav in Bama episode. Dive into Kansas State and what we expect from that matchup in our next one. But for now, just, of course, a big Roll Tide, and just remember that the young men on this team, they are trying hard and they are playing hard, and I think we'll leave you with that. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right about that. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
It's gonna be a great game. I said, I wish you guys well. Okay, I can't wait to see them play. Well, other than everybody, roll tide.
Have a great day. Roll Tide.